everyone, and welcome to Real Talk. We are so happy to have you joining us once again. And as we get into today's topic, I'm sure we have gone through that experience. Well, not all of us, but I'm sure some of us have had that beautiful, wonderful, jittery experience that you go through when you connect with that one special person. Perhaps your eyes connect from across the room and you wonder, has he noticed me? Has she noticed me? Perhaps it's a smile that just sends butterflies into your stomach. And then when you eventually connect and speak and talk, you run out of words to express yourself because you're finally close to that person who provokes emotions you never even thought you had. And when that call finally comes, maybe it's to say, let us meet for a drink somewhere, or let us just go and attend the social at church that is taking place if you have met at church and you can't believe it. You want to tell all your friends about it. This is like the best feeling in the world one could ever have. And if you've gone through it, I'm sure you're reminiscing now and remembering what it was like when you met that one true love of your life. And for those who haven't gone, it is what many people are searching for, that connection, that joy that comes when a man and a woman get together and talk for hours over nothing. But it seems the traditional ways are just not sufficient to connect people together. Some are moving from church to church in search of that connection. Others from country to country even hoping to find that connection. And many seem to be disappointed as they lament and say, there are no men in the church. There are no women in the church. There are no men or women in the country. But with the dawn of technology and its ever increasing devices that we have and ways to communicate with the outside world, others have turned to online dating. Yes, it is the new trend that is on the high and it is increasing to meet that special someone online. And technology indeed makes it easier. In fact, with COVID, it is becoming more and more easy to connect and to travel the world from your living room, as I am doing right now. Today, we are talking about online dating and social media. Is there joy at the end of it all? Or can there be bitterness and sorrow? We'll find out today. I will ask Sam to bring our panel on. Now, as always, if you would like to get in touch with us, feel free. Drop us a comment on YouTube or Facebook. We would love to hear from you. Perhaps the only thing you will say today is good afternoon, or perhaps you will say an amen to agree with our panelists, or you will find this topic exciting or funny, or maybe it will speak to someone and help you in your situation. This is Real Talk, and as always, we will be going real. There's a number that is appearing anonymously right now on your screen. Well, it's not appearing anonymously, but it is an anonymous number that you can use if you want to get in touch with us anonymously. As always, we will be protecting your identity. We've also received during the week an anonymous testimony of someone who went through online dating. So keep tuned and you will get to find out all about her experience. Maybe learn a thing or two. But for now, let me just take some time to greet our panel. Hello, Kelvin. It is good to have you on Real Talk for the first time. We're happy to have you joining us. How are you doing today? Well, it's good morning on your side, I believe.
Yes, it is. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. So good morning to you, Sonia. It's good to see you again. And it's such a pleasure to be part of Real Talk.
Thank you so much, Kelvin. We're looking forward to spending a good part of your morning with you, and we're hoping that this show will indeed be worthwhile. And we're also looking forward to hearing all about your experiences with media and, well, I won't go that far, but who knows, maybe even online dating. And to Carmen and Timothy,
Sure.
we're happy to have you joining us for the first time here at Real Talk. And how are you doing?
I think we're okay. Yes, we're really grateful and excited to be here talking about online dating, social media.
Yes,
all the good stuff.
Hello to everybody. Thank you so much for having us here. Yeah, we're excited. This is something that obviously is quite a hot topic, especially now in today's world. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Thank you. We're also looking forward to hearing all about your experience. And Kuda comes back to join us here on Real Talk. In fact, Kuda is not a stranger on Real Talk, but he always brings the realness. So it's always good to have you here. Hello, Kuda. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here as always, looking to a great discussion, hopefully.
Thank you so much. So, to get us into our topic, let us start it right. Kelvin, may I ask you to pray for us, please?
Sure. Our Father who art in heaven, Lord, we thank you so much for bringing us all together here to discuss things that are affecting our young people and even some of our old ones. We ask, Lord, that you may be with us as we discuss these very important points. May we stay focused on you. And Lord, may you be able to reach somebody this afternoon. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Thank you so much. I'm just going to pause a little bit here and just greet our friends who have come online and are joining us. It's a happy Sabbath to you, Shiri, and to Romancia, Sardinia, Lulu, as well as Danford. We're happy to have you joining us. And for those maybe who have not managed to drop a comment, but it is a warm welcome to you. And we're looking forward to hearing from you and what you think about online dating. But Kuda, why is it that online dating seems to be becoming more and more popular these days?
Well, I think recently, if we're going to look at what has happened in the past 2 years, it would be absolutely no surprise why online dating is popular. But if we're to look a little bit beyond that, I think with the way that people have been advancing in technology, it only makes sense that people ended up catching up to it. Like if you look at the way we grew up, we were always told, don't get into strangers' cars, don't get into strangers' cars. But nowadays, you just go on your phone and you get an Uber. You just ask some random guy who's nearest to you to give you a lift. You don't know if he's a killer, maybe he could rob you, but we're comfortable enough to do that. So it almost seems as if the natural progression is from asking a random stranger who's closest to us to take us where our closest relatives are, would be to, start being intimate with people we don't know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you so much. But Timothy, would you say it's progressive to find yourself online? I mean, we have people complaining all the time about how they can't find that perfect partner. They go to church, Sabbath in, Sabbath out, because some are going to church, hoping to find that person, joining choirs, hoping to find that person, and there is nothing that is happening. And to still talk about, oh, you can't go online and do this, I think it's not, a progressive way of thinking. If you're just thinking to stick to the traditional way and expect to end up with that perfect partner for life.
I think it's progressive as long as it's done with the right mentality. It's done with the right motives as well. But I think one needs to also be careful in what we mean by progressive, because, and we'll probably discuss this a bit further in the discussion, we've seen that a lot of times the progress of the world is not necessarily progress that is good for us as Christians or as young Christians.
Thank you so much. Calvin, would you say that one should actually go out there and search for a partner? I'm thinking especially from a woman's perspective. I mean, there's this way, traditional way of thinking that you have to wait maybe for the man to come to you. But would you say that one, yes, should go out there and search for a partner? Or should we just wait, just like manna from heaven and expect when it's the right time and the Lord's time? And there's a lot of talk about that. The Lord will bring the right person to you at the right time. Should one actually go out there and take that effort, that extra step? And especially from a woman's perspective, if a woman were to approach a man and say, but you know what, I've been looking at you for all this time and it's like you don't see me. And
Sure. I don't know if I can do it justice by giving it from a woman's perspective. What I could do is probably give it from a male perspective and maybe give a little light on what men see on that side. So I don't think there's anything wrong with a female going online and setting up a profile and actually doing the legwork to find a potential partner. The question is, how much legwork are you doing? From a man's perspective, you're right. The man's job is to hunt, right? And so if it comes too easy, then it's not worth it. From a man's perspective. And so, easy come, easy go. So setting up a profile, I don't see anything wrong with that. But if you're messaging everyone, then there might be a serious problem. And so there's actually a rule online. It's called Rule 37. It started off in memes a couple of years ago, actually about a decade ago. And the rule says there are no women online. And it's kind of like a play on this, a thing that says, hey, we there's so many men online, there's so many nerds online. Usually women are not considered the nerds. And so you'll find a lot of men who are going to be online. And so when you have a social media profile, for those of you who've set up social media profiles and the female, who are female, you'll notice that, you set it up today and within an hour, you've got like 100, 200 messages that you have to go through. So you now have to start culling through all of them. Whereas a male has to, either swipe left, swipe right. And the technique now has just become swipe right on everyone. And then if they link, we'll then, start filtering. So I think, to answer your question, there's nothing wrong with setting up the profile. How much work are you doing? That's where I think you need to focus.
Thank you so much, Calvin. Now, coming from a woman's perspective, because then Calvin said he could only speak from how men would see things. But from a woman's perspective, would you consider it to be degrading, for a woman to go out there and to do the hunting, because it seems as if the animals are not coming. So to go out there and to reverse the role and to do the hunting, is it something that would be considered to be degrading, to put yourself out there, to risk having someone say, no, I'm not interested in you?
I don't think it's degrading. Just like Calvin was saying, it depends how much work you put in. Because if you go online dating, all you have to do is set a profile, answer some questions, which is like 15 minutes, and take some pictures of yourself. So how much work is that? How much do you invest in a relationship? Is it okay for a woman to go to have these profiles online? It's not. But then if you really start to study what's this online dating, you actually pay for love. How right is that? Then you start to think, hold on a second, well, how about me actually going to church? How about me investing in my character and building my relationship with Christ first? Because that's what is important. Online dating is not as transparent, really, as a true dating. I think we all agree on that. You can find men online, but you don't know their lives. You have no idea what they're doing. So you're putting yourself out there, but the risk is too great, I think.
Thank you, but we can't deny also that there are some success stories, some people who have succeeded online and found that perfect person. Maybe you can just come in there as well.
Yes.
Sorry, Kuda.
Oh, pardon. You please go ahead.
No. Okay, go on.
Okay. Before I just quickly jump into that, I just wanted to comment that we need to understand the context in which we're currently existing as well, because things are not as they were before. So just quickly rewind to 1950. It was a thing of that if men wanted if men wanted intercourse, let's say, if a man wanted to get laid, he had to make a number of promises, find a particular woman who would believe those promises, and somehow, more often than not, end up staying with her. And in some cases, you'd have infidelity that follows, or they just become deadbeat dads and they leave and they go wherever they go. Because during that time, for a man to get what he wanted to get, there was a lot of lying involved. Now, things have changed. And I think this poses a difficulty for any of the modern youth on any platform whatsoever, because nowadays, what the church was sort of leading us to, that no, even the Bible says, he who feels he cannot control himself, get a wife. But now it's like more like he who cannot control himself, get Tinder. Because, well, if you ever needed anything, you just go online and then within 30 minutes, you're sorted. So with all these changes that are somewhat happening, when we start talking of the old methods and all that stuff, we now have to bring into context the fact that sex no longer has the same religious value it did before. And how is that playing in to online relationships, social media, and dating in our current time?
Thank you. Thank you, Danford, as well for your question. Danford here says, but with online, we see them putting their best and sometimes filtered photos, some even fake photos. Is there a safeguard for falling in love with the wrong person? Calvin, I think I'm going to direct this one at you because I know you're dealing in this industry, making people look better than they could be. So and for the essence to be worried about all this fakeness happening there. Is there a safeguard from falling in love with the wrong person?
Sure. First, I'll say that you cannot fall in love with, and you can fight me on this one. You cannot fall in love with an online profile. The fear of the man really is the fact that, is this person who she looks like? And again, remember Rule 37, there are no men online. And so you might fall into the trap where you see a very beautiful woman, you swipe right, or you click or whatever, because of course there's different platforms for different end goals, like Kuda mentioned. And so different platforms, depending on the platform that you're in, the safeguard really is for the man, who are you interacting with and how are you interacting? Some of them have a long list, like Carmen said. Some of them have a long list of like for example, Match.com or Christian matchmaking. You set up a profile for 15 minutes. For females, what happens is they look through the profile of the man because he's also putting his best foot forward. The whole profile of long walks on the beach, all that stuff, all that good stuff. Whereas the man is very visual. He doesn't necessarily care about how long your profile is and honestly speaking, most men don't want to read a novel when they get to online dating. And so
I hope the ladies are taking notes.
And
some
so
ladies
one thing
have a long story,
And so one thing I actually stumbled upon is I actually asked some females, hey, what do you guys, what are some of the issues that you have when it comes to online dating? And some of them were even saying, some men are asking me the same things that are on my profile. And I said, well, you're writing novels on your profile. Don't write novels on your profile. Because they're going to ask the question that they really want to know. They'll ask you in the chat if you guys ever link up. And so for men, the thing is they want to find out, is this person real? The safeguard for females is, qualifying these people based on what their profile says. The thing is, Denford mentioned, they're putting their best foot forward. Everyone is putting their best foot forward. The man is probably going to lie about the kind of job he does, import, export. Whereas the female is knows where the man is looking. So, the photo starts looking up like this. And at that point, hey, all bets are off. So I think the thing is, once you start chatting, ask the questions that you really want to know. And I'm really just focusing on the platforms where the end goal is a relationship. But again, you can't fall in love with a profile. You got to meet that person. So online has to come to face to face.
But don't we do this even outside of online, Calvin? Putting your best foot forward.
You do.
You're all fixing the tie, making sure everything is fine, when you have
Right.
that first encounter with the person. Isn't the same thing happening even offline?
It is. It is, but I think that the thing is, online, you can hide behind a persona. You can be whoever you want to be online. You can be a keyboard warrior, but then you meet the person for a drink, kosher drink, and what you see is that this person doesn't talk as much as they type, or I think I'm getting a different image. And so you find somebody, you mentioned earlier, you have discussions, through the night, and then you meet this person and it's crickets. And then, you realize you don't want to go on another date with them. So I think the thing is, online, the danger is online, you can be whoever you want. And you can, if somebody asks a question, you can answer whenever you want. You can take 24 hours to answer. Whereas in person, you have to, be on the spot.
And I think,
thank you. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think the online dating sort of took all these things that was so important for this traditional way of dating. No interaction. You don't know when they go to church and how they go to church. You don't know how they interact with young people. How do they study the Bible, if they study the Bible, if they have any common interests or anything. It's just a capitalization of a different persona, not yours. So that's very easy for someone that's just behind the camera to hide and say, yeah, this is me. And then, as Calvin says, they can reply next day, day after, no rush, no obligation whatsoever.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carmen. Star Wonder here saying, let God choose for you. Come on, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. But the question is, how is God going to choose for you? How do you know? Maybe, let's be real. Calvin, what's the latest Apple phone? Latest iPhone what, 20? Are we there yet? But at the end of the day, are we progressing with the world? Are we preferring to go backwards when it comes to dating? But Jason, thank you so much, Jason, as well. Jason agreeing with the question that I posed earlier about, is there anything wrong with putting your best foot forward? Because even in person, trust, I'm going to be putting my best foot forward. So indeed, we are putting our best foot forward. I think that one has already been addressed. But Timothy, I'm thinking about what is happening within the church. The pressure to get married. And then, these days, maybe they don't say it, but they'll certainly look at you like, are you sure that you are, are you sure you're not, the clock is ticking? So are you sure you're not getting married? Could pressures from the church, could pressures from families, from society, from your peers, others are getting married, having beautiful weddings, and you're just daydreaming, fantasizing about what this perfect marriage will be like. And if you want to know more about fantasies about marriage, you can catch one of our previous episodes on Real Talk, where we talked about fantasies of marriage. And it's not happening. Could that be something as well that could propel someone to go online and say, I'm going to get someone, so that when everybody else is talking about a boyfriend or talking about a girlfriend, I have someone? Would that play a role?
100%. And I think as a church and as a community, a Christian community, we need to be very careful in the type of pressure we put on others. I know there's some people, you would be putting pressure on somebody, when are you getting married? When are you finding somebody? Yet that same person is actually facing flames in their own relationship. So I don't know why people are. And there's a famous saying, you don't go and shop while you're hungry, because that's when you buy all the things you're not supposed to buy. So similarly, it's very dangerous for people to just get into it because of the fact that, they're in a rush, they're feeling this pressure, and they end up making very wrong decisions. Even if we look at the image of Adam and Eve, if we look at the original marriage, if we would call it that, Adam was sort of going about his own business. He didn't tap God on the shoulder and say, "Hey, Lord," he was going about his business, naming animals, tasting things, and then along came this lovely lady. So I think one must be very careful just to rush into things.
So Adam wasn't singing "Lonely." I'm so lonely. He wasn't singing any of those.
He realized that when he was actually naming the animals, but he didn't sort of vocalize it and say, "God, come on now, it's time."
Exactly.
But he saw something was missing,
He did.
Yes, but we just need to be careful. Relationships are not McDonald's. It's not meant to be a sprint. It's for the long game. So yeah.
And may I add something to what you were saying? I wish parents would realize the pressure that they put their children on. They don't realize that, and I think that phase in our lives is a very vulnerable one. Also, church, they do the same, but they fail to realize that my time is not Timothy's time, it's not Calvin's time, it's not Phil's time. So each and every one has a certain time when they study, when they find someone, and when they get married. Because Calvin got married at 20, I have to get married at 20, you have to get married at 20, and everyone needs to do the same. No, my time is not the same as yours, and they don't understand that. Sadly.
That's very true. Things don't always have to happen when they happen, and at times we tend to set goals that when I get to this stage of my life, I should have accomplished this, and that stage of my life, and you look around and you see everybody else doing it, and it seems as if you've been left behind. That is very true, Carmen. And the anonymous video that we will be sharing just shortly, I will ask Sam to get ready to play that one, is a sad account as well of this idea of setting time periods, setting timelines in your life of when things should happen. Maybe as Star Wonder says, let God choose for you. But Huda, social media, there's a lot of sharing that happens on social media. And I'm just thinking about someone out there who could be desiring to get into a relationship, but sees others posting the very best of their relationship. Should couples be posting their relationship on social media? Is there something that could go wrong? Could it have some negative impact on a relationship? Or it's not my problem if you're not in a relationship. So I'm not going to suffer for that. I post my best life on social media.
Exactly. I think I'll answer this one, but the comments on was also very interesting on it at the end. On this one, I usually said, and we had this conversation with Lulu the other week. I'm like, no, you can post, me, I don't post. And all the reason for that is coming from a place of, it almost would seem that posting someone or just constantly putting them on your social media, I'm not doing it for me because I'm not the one having it's like I need other people to validate my experience with you. And any argument you have for posting someone from the outside can always be broken down to some form of vanity here and there. Whereas if all the experiences that we have are authentic and they're between us, they're important because there's something about them they're intimate. It's not something that someone from China can simply say, oh, how was your trip when you guys went to the mountain and then you stumbled upon that flower and then you looked into her eyes and then you kissed her? How was that? There's just something about about not always posting everything to get, because it almost feeds into the validation from an external society. You want people to validate your experience in the relationship. So you end up finding that there are a lot of people who are very unhappy, but then you look at their relationship, you would never know. You get surprised. Next thing you know, you've got a Jada and Will Smith. We had songs saying that Jada and Will love. But now, every single time Jada goes on Facebook, we're all praying for Will Smith because we don't know what she will say next to destroy this poor brother. So I think on posting and sharing your partner, I think it's a judgment call, but me, I don't post. And before I go far, I wanted to say something on what on what Carmen was saying, and I actually agree. Like the pressure that is there is real, but I think that there's a disconnect that's there between the generation of our parents and our generation. And I think that my suggestion, my idea of the disconnection is that I believe that we are weaker than our parents were, but I also believe that we're more self-aware than our parents were. So, for example, my uncle, without fail, we would be walking down the street. This man, as long as it had a skirt, he could approach the girl, speak for 15 minutes, and leave with the number. The man was professional, and they were efficient. Those men knew what they were doing. They got in there, they got the job done. But now, you go to church, you look across the pew, and then there's a beautiful girl. Now you start having to think about all these extra things because we're extremely self-aware. So the likelihood of acting has decreased substantially from when our uncles were still walking these streets. But I will slide in your DMs though. You know, I will text you like, oh, I saw you at church today. You know what I mean? So I feel as though that our generation is struggling with a pressure that has always been there, because pressure is not new. From 800 BC to now, parents have always been saying to their kids, we want you to get married, we want grandchildren. The only difference is now we're so much more self-aware and we're more aware of anxiety and all these things that can ruin your peace. You as a guy start asking yourself, do I really need another no right now? With the way school is going, with the way things are falling apart, do I really need this no right now? Meaning, which is why I think you're seeing people go more to social media, because it kind of protects you from all that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. And Sadiya, you're saying you're finishing as Kuda, and she is agreeing with you. She says that indeed you are on point. But Luther says, but Kuda, but what if your partner wants you to post them? Would you also be fine if your partner is posting everybody else but you? What if it's your partner now that's poking you and say, how come I'm not on your status? I'm not on your profile. You're putting dogs and cats on profile there. What do you do in such a situation?
My mother has always taught me something that has stayed with me for a very long time. We don't always get what we want. I mean, it's good. They validate that you want to be posted, and I appreciate that you communicated it to me. But you know, I think these are some of those like nowadays, it seems as though in dating it becomes a fundamental belief thing.
Okay, let me just also add that. Is it genuine if someone posts simply because you've nudged them so much? Is it a genuine post, or you're just throwing? Yeah. Okay,
it's really not genuine, because I've had some female friends or people who come and say that this guy just wants to be posted, and it almost seems like it's a thing of marking my territory, whereas there are people who are moving quietly and still cheating. So I don't understand the entire obsession with being posted when we can cheat on you nonetheless, whether you're online, whether you're not online. It can happen regardless. So it seems like a certain reassurance or wanting to be validated. So I think it all depends on the person, but it's not. I don't think it's genuine if I have to post you because you're telling me to post you. It's not genuine. I'm doing it for your benefit, and it's not like I'm going to be doing it as frequently as you want it to be, because it's not real.
Yeah, indeed. I'm inclined to agree with you there. But Kelvin, when we talk about social media, you're obviously opening the door to allow third parties into your private space, your intimate space, especially if you talk about relationships, into what is what is happening within your relationship. And people will comment, once you put something out there on social media, people are going to comment. And it may not be something positive. It may actually be something negative, but you've put yourself out there. Can that have an impact on the relationship when you allow strangers to come into your space?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, I'm just going to start off by saying this is social media is really a Gen Z and a millennial problem. It's our problem, and it's our cross to bear. And I think we have an over-exaggerated view on what social media is and the importance of social media in our lives. And to be honest, it really doesn't mean much. So, bringing third parties in is extremely dangerous. Number one, we're looking for validation where really won't get it. So, for example, people who post their children online, and I don't have a problem with people posting children online, but let's be realistic. You're posting, in this age where you can really be anyone, we're really making it a pedophile's playground. And so if you're posting your children online, a pedophile just has to scroll and it's like a candy shop. Now, when you take that into, relationships, you're looking for validation for why. You don't need somebody to like. How many likes? I mean, if you get one like and you had your husband or boyfriend or wife or whatever, you get one like, and then somebody else got 100 likes or even 1,000 likes. Does that mean that your relationship is less significant? Absolutely not. So maybe you need to ask yourself, why are you posting? Is it more of an online photo album? Is it maybe it's something, maybe a mental condition? And I'm just going to say, because there's people who validate themselves based on the number of likes they have. And so you'll find people who post and post and post, and then they don't get the likes that they want. And so they delete that profile, start again. And maybe they'll get a different result. And so maybe we need to dig a little deeper and ask, why are you posting? Why do you want to be posted online as a couple? Because I mean, it's not going to make much of a difference. And for those people who have been online for a while, the millennials, we understand that it's a dangerous playground. So we started off with very slow internet, and I think at that point we also got to understand that the interweb, the www part, is really a small tip of the iceberg, whereas majority of the internet is hidden underneath, which is called the dark web, and that's where people are going to be lurking. And so when you put your stuff on there, you're really just allowing people to download your life, and to give you validation, or to give you validation, which both sides are really negative. So I want to say there's more negative than there is positive with posting personal things on social media.
Thank you so much. And in just adding more onto that that what you've just mentioned on validation, I want to direct this one at Carmen and Timothy. Let's build up on this idea of validation, but also just thinking about marriage. When couples are not happy within their marriage for any reason, is it common for them to turn to social media for that validation that may not be within the marriage? And maybe also you can give your thoughts on what we're talking about now, but I just want to add on that aspect of whether couples, tend to turn to social media for validation of something that may be lacking within the relationship.
I think when we started today, did we have Facebook? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was there.
But you can see a very unhealthy progression into relationships and marriages nowadays, where maybe the lady or the man posts on social media their lives. Now, it happens sometimes that maybe the lady wants to put more pictures and the man is a bit more skeptical about it. Now, what do? How is that going to influence your relationship? Because sometimes if you post things, as Calvin, again, I'm referring to Calvin, you might find people online that they screenshot your pictures. Then they send those pictures to friends, talking about your life, talking about what you've done or what you haven't done. But that wasn't your intention. Or you have maybe your ex on Facebook. Maybe you want to prove something. So again, we're going into a cycle, but actually your life as a married couple doesn't really develop behind the camera. It happens on social media, but you're actually not doing anything about your relationship. So how do you combine these two?
If I might add, sadly, the world is not filled with deacons and deaconesses. So most people, 80% of the population is their purpose for being online is normally not a good one. So a lot of times when couples are posting, if it's minimal information about themselves, To some extent, there's nothing too bad about that. But the problem is when people post. I know people that post. They'll say, relationship status is complicated right now, or all these sort of things that give you clues to know that there's a problem in paradise, so to speak. And then you might have, for example, women who are paying attention to this, just looking for a gap, or a man who's paying attention, looking for a gap, so that he could slide into the ladies' DMs, as Kuda say, or slide into the man's DMs. So I think people just need to be quite careful. The other problem that we're facing is then transparency in the relationship. So, we see a lot of memes and a lot of posts regarding whether or not you would allow, your partner to go on your social media or on your Instagram to see who's posting, who's sending you messages. So it then brings up the issue of trust as well. So I think this is something that as couples, we need to be very careful about what we allow the world to see. Because as somebody once said, once you post something online, it no longer belongs to you.
Yes. Yeah, true. It no longer belongs to you. And you have to take the good and the bad. And some people get upset when they get the bad. We see it with celebrities, and now we have become celebrities. I mean, the ordinary person has become a celebrity because you're posting. And you get upset when people say the negative things and the bad things about your relationship. Thank you so much, Lovisa, watching through YouTube. Lovisa says motive is important. Not everything needs to be posted. If you are okay with posting your relationship since day one, then post to let us know when it's over. That is funny. Yeah, we'll certainly won't be telling you when things are over. That's for sure, Lovisa. Yes. So, and that puts pressure. Just agreeing with your comment. It also puts some level of pressure because now you're living for the next thing and what people think about your life. Joe here says online communication, especially posting, can create a powerful illusion of closeness, inclusion, and friendship. You do not know the person, but only from your opinion about him or her based on messages and photos. Yes, based on messages and photos. And that's taking us on to this catfishing, because there's a lot of that is happening as well. Catfishing, Kuda, what is that all about?
Well, catfishing essentially is when someone misleads you over their identity online. And funny enough, I actually do have a little bit of experience in this particular arena. Well, it so happened to be, what was the year? I think it should have been somewhere around 2016. So basically, building on the whole idea of the vanity of the internet, a friend of mine had a bit. So China has got this version of Tinder called Tantan or something like that. I forget the name. Well, the idea was to see who, as a black person, can get the most likes or messages from this particular platform. And since we had recently started the gym and all that stuff, we were very, very vain. So this was supposed to be very interesting. So we do this, and then this particular Chinese lady slides into my DMs, and I'm like, "Ooh, this seems interesting. She looks cute enough. Let's take this to WeChat, which is the equivalent of WhatsApp." And we chatted late into the. Indeed, you chat late into the night, and even the slight mispronunciation or wrong grammatical errors, they all seem so romantic at 3 a.m. in the morning. Until one day, the day comes up now to have some sort of a video call. Because I was like, no. Before I meet you in person, I need to make sure you're not like some old guy from like the northern parts of China. Lo and behold, to only see that it was a high school graduate who had been out here messaging me on this particular platform. To this day, she does send me the odd happy birthday on WeChat, but needless to say, well, I haven't spoken to her since. So that's essentially catfishing, whereby you mislead a man of God into thinking that you good people, but deep down, you're just a, Gen Z child, and you should not be on these platforms. So it's similar to that.
Thank you so much, Kuda. But Kelvin, it can be more dangerous than that. his experience is not very dangerous, but catfishing can be more dangerous than that. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct. Usually, when somebody impersonates another person, then we call it catfishing. Online, the rules kind of get blurry. So it's actually not illegal to impersonate. As much as you think it's not illegal to impersonate somebody online. If I was to take Carmen's photo and pose as Carmen and call myself Lucinda, and then message Kuda, and my motives would not necessarily be to date. Very few people actually do a catfish to date. A lot of them are looking more for financial gain or some emotional kind of hold on the other person. So yeah, it can get quite dangerous.
And I think
Let's
also, sorry, this world got so dark that it's so difficult for us actually to distinguish what's reality and what's not. Very, very difficult. They can come with a real profile, real story, everything, until they start to ask for money, for other benefits, and then you start to think, hold on, what does that represent?
Thank you so much. Then for the essays, I guess our seeking validation online is almost like a mini version of us wanting to live like the celebrities who we frequently see on reality shows. We want our own fan base and supporters to feel needed, accepted, loved. The same issue that happened in school, where we do certain things to be accepted by our peers, especially the popular kids on the block. Yes, even all the way down to preschool, primary school, trying to fit in with the crowd. But people are making money, Timothy. People are making money from social media, from putting their lives out there. Is there anything wrong with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, just to agree with what Lovisa commented, motive, I think, is the main thing. So, and mostly the motive is wrong. I think maybe 10, 15 years ago, if I may say, before Instagram, I'll use Instagram as an example, blew up. For somebody to become a model, they would have to probably study a little bit. They would have to get in touch with an agent, go and call L'Oreal or Garnier, I don't know, the different modeling agencies. But, it was a lot. And now we have something called Instagram models. And 9 out of 10, it poses a very a very glamorous lifestyle where somebody goes and posts. I mean, let's be real. It's essentially very exposed pictures of themselves, men and women, and they do that to increase Instagram followers. And then a lot of them end up being called by various companies to say, hey, come model for us, or can you advertise this and this for us? But actually at the core of it, if you think about it, somebody is actually selling themselves. And it tends not to end up well. I was surprised to find out a lot of these Instagram models actually end up in some form of sex trafficking, in some form of prostitution. You'd see a Instagram model posting and, saying, hey, living life in Dubai. And then you find out that it's actually a sheikh in Dubai that paid for them to go to Dubai to essentially engage in prostitution. So it poses as a very innocent thing on the cover. Someone thinks, oh, there's nothing wrong with me posting a few pictures of me like this and I get paid for it. But at the end of the day, as we say, it'll end in tears.
Indeed.
Landing in tears, that's a sad one. And we'd also just like to get in there and talk about sex extortion. Kelvin, can you come in on that one? What is that all about? Sex extortion.
So again, looking at the financial gain of catfishing, sextortion is basically when you use something sexual about the person. So we all heard about Jeff Bezos and why he got the divorce. If you didn't, Google. And so he was a victim of sextortion. And what happened is he's a little older, he's a lot wiser, and so he was able to come in front of the story, right? Of course, that didn't have happy endings, but at the end of the day, he was able to overcome and actually defeat the person who was the sextortionist. When you go a little, to the younger ages, the millennials, generally Gen Zs, millennials are a little more, I guess, aware of this, but still not immune to it. But if you go younger, you're looking for people who are now looking for validation, right? So you're trying to live the what is it, the JJ and not Jay-Z and his wife lifestyle. And so you're looking for that validation. If you get somebody who's able to give you what you want, and or even steals something from you, because it is actually pretty easy to steal profiles online. You now have the issue of we've all heard of the iCloud hacking. So you now have the issue where they'll use those photos or profiles to lure you into giving them not just money, but a little bit more than money. So it could be profiles, it could be contacts, it could be money, it could be sex, like prostitution, like Timothy was saying. So the rabbit hole goes pretty deep.
And what is one to do? I mean, you've just given this example, but what can other people do? I mean, if that should happen to you, because obviously there's a lot of blackmail that is involved, but what would be the correct thing to do if one should find themselves trapped in such a thing?
That's a really good question. I think the best thing is to always come out in front of it. So when it comes to, females have a lot of power. When it comes to online, to the online realm, females have, I want to say, 90% of the power. They lose the power when the profiles or the information that they're supposed to be keeping secret becomes pretty much common knowledge. And so at that point, I think the best thing is to either, go to an older person, so a parent, come clean about what's happening. And of course, we know that, even in the case of like rape, it's very difficult for a female to, go public about what's actually happening. And there's people who've done it. There's kids who've actually come out there and said, hey, this is happening. This is not my profile. Yes, my photos are out there. I'm sorry for what happened. And then it ends there because you take away the power from, the sextortionist. So the best thing really is to put it out there. If it's dirty laundry, it'll all come out, to the right people, of course. And then, that takes away their power, and then they have to now find somebody else to catfish.
Thank you. Let me just get some comments in here. Moses says, for you to make money now on social media platforms nowadays requires you to go to extreme of personal exposure. It is shocking how even young couples fool a lot of people in how good their life is, when in actual fact, it's just a job. And Manolo says, I saw an SDA speed dating ad once posted by SDAs from the state. I'd upload the picture, but I don't see the option here. Okay, thank you, Manolo. I guess my question is there a difference between speed dating and online dating? But I will be asking you to answer that one. But let me also get Swonile's comment. Swonile says, but let's quantify money making. Making money how? Because now we saw in the advent of COVID, most businesses and everything is online, internet. I think if you sell a lifestyle or you are an influencer, that's okay. Now understand me, I'm not saying it's okay to start an OnlyFans page, but selling a lifestyle is equivalent to having a reality show of sorts. Are we saying that's wrong? Timothy, I'll ask you to take that one. Okay, thank you, Swongile, for your comment. Kuda, the difference between speed dating and online dating.
Well, with online dating, actually, Sibongile had posted right beneath that one that it's simply dating that's happening online. And to a certain degree, there's some truth to that. But then, like back to the question, with speed dating, it's just simply trying to get to know someone as quick as you can. And honestly, there doesn't seem to be much difference between me going on your Instagram page and me going to talk to someone for 10 minutes, because I'm not going to learn anything meaningful about you in 10 minutes unless you're an absolute psychopath who's just going to walk up to me and say, okay, so listen, I don't do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I have cheated in the last what. I haven't gone to church in 6 months. And by the way, not only do I not pay tithe, I actually take offering from the offering basket. You're not going to know any of these things in a 10-minute speed dating round. And even on online dating, if I go on your Instagram page, if I go on your Snapchat, or if I go on your Facebook, I'm not going to learn anything that's meaningful about who you are unless you made someone angry and then they decided to post the entire story of how terrible you are as a human being online. So essentially, for the purposes of a long-term relationship, they both have the same effect. But for the purposes of today's hookup culture, they're two different things entirely.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope you're answered on that one, Manolo. And over to you, Timothy.
Thank you. Before I answer the other point that Sibongli made, just to also just a little 2 cents on what Kuda said as well. I definitely agree with that, and I think we must also realize that online dating does not actually mean that you go to Match.com or SDASingles.com. Online dating is happening on Instagram. It's happening on Facebook. And until recently, when WhatsApp, started introducing a more social media angle after Facebook acquired it, it's also happening on WhatsApp. So, in fact, I would say that a lot of people are doing online dating, but just not on necessarily an online dating website. So, we just need to be mindful of that these are all forms of online dating, And then just to add on to just to answer on what the point that Sibongli made, of course, it's definitely not a wrong thing to make money as an influencer, as they call them. There's loads of YouTube channels where people do this all the time. I think we know now that YouTube is considered actually the second largest search engine in the world. Anytime you have any questions about how to fix this or how to do this, you go on YouTube and you'll find channels. So this happens a lot, and it's actually become a very great means of a second income, and for some people it's even a great means of a main income. The problem lies in what you are known for as an influencer, and I just want to very, very quickly just read 2 verses from Matthew 12, 33 and 34 that say, either make the tree good and his fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt and his fruit corrupt. For the tree is known by his fruit. O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So the problem comes when, if you go onto certain influencers' pages or YouTube channels, it's just a lot of verbal diarrhea of just a lot of the wrong stuff, and people make a lot of money from this, and you're actually influencing people because young people go on these sites. A lot of young people listen to the Jenners, the Kardashians of the world, and are so misled. So it's just to be careful as to what you're putting out there, but there's definitely nothing wrong with that.
Timothy, thank you, Lulu, as well for your question. Lulu says, how effective is online dating? How different is it from distance relationship dating? Come on, maybe you can take this one. The difference between online dating and long distance dating. Is there a difference? Or is it just one and the same
thing? So when you say distance dating,
would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay. The question is, how effective is online dating online, and how different is it from a distance relationship? Relationship, maybe you didn't meet online, and then now there's some distance between you, and you have to communicate online. So the question is, how effective is online dating, and is there a difference between that and just dating online?
Yeah, there
Is
is
there a
a
difference
clear
between dating and
difference.
online dating?
Yes, so if as we dated, um, we were involved in church activities. We were doing activities outside of church, going to a movie, talking about things, meeting with friends. I knew his family, he knew my family. We would go and visit each other's family. So all these interactions we had. I've never done online dating, but to me, this process can be effective. So for those ones out there that obviously do online dating, can be effective. The only problem is we really don't have control over what's happening on the internet. You might see a profile, you might see a really lovely person, um, but you really don't know actually anything about their family. You know, we tend to compare a book with an iceberg and a movie with the top of the iceberg, right? So when we read the book, we know the story, the full story. Everything is there. And that's how online dating is. It's only the tip of the iceberg, and that's what you see. But is that enough to know someone? That's my question, and I think my answer is no. You are skipping few stages in dating, and then later on in marrying. And also, there's another danger for online dating. You don't know whether those people are married or not, because these dating websites, you can verify actually if they have a criminal record, but sorry, actually, they don't verify if they are married or not, because marriage certificates are actually public sector. You can find out about these things quite easily.
Thank you.
So I hope that will answer the question.
Yes, we hope so too. We hope, Lulu, that you have been answered by that question. If you're just joining us now, this is Real Talk. We're talking about online dating and social media. Just shortly, we will be showing you an anonymous video of someone's experience with online dating. So please keep watching. Kelvin, there's a tendency in relationships for one to look into the other's device. What do you think about that? I know with some of these gadgets, I'm sure Apple has come up with ways that you can't look into it with passwords and codes and things like that. But is it okay? Is it okay to be snooping into what one's partner or spouse is doing on social media?
Um, that's a very, very touchy topic. I'm gonna try and dissect it. So, personally, I think that if that is happening, if there's some kind of snooping happening, then there's definitely a trust issue, right? And that needs to be dealt with. Um, More times than not, it's going to be the females who are going to be snooping or going on the men's devices more than the males. I mean, there's even a joke online.
Indeed.
We've all seen it, where the man, he gives his phone and then he packs his bag and he leaves because he knows, hey, she's probably going to find something. And so here's the question: if you don't find what you're looking for, then what? And if you do, then what? I think looking at again, what is the motive of why you're searching, and maybe you need to start with that first and deal with that first issue, because once you cross that line, it's gray zone out there. And so maybe if we're to ask ourselves, if I found X, Y, and Z, what do I do at that point? maybe we need to start there. I think that's a very good place to start, because if the trust is broken, there's nowhere to go.
Thank you. Thank you. Kuda, is it okay to expect to be on your partner's status, for example? And is it a red flag if you never appear on the status? You're never there.
My, my question always starts with, is it your birthday? Is it an anniversary? Or like, is it just a random Tuesday or Wednesday? Guys, I think what
Even
I've
on
gone
a birthday,
all my life.
you're not there.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Guys, I've gone my entire life, and I can tell you this: I'm yet to become a man crush Monday. I don't see why people are just complaining about all these weird things. But the reality is, from my perspective, would be that when it comes to being on a status, when it comes to being posted, it really depends on the motives and the person that you're with. If you're with a person that lives a very extroverted lifestyle, whose identity seems to be exterior to themselves, then chances are it's going to be a struggle for you, because they'll always want to be posted and you'll never be comfortable posting them, because that's just not who you are. But then if you're again with someone who's like, if you're with someone who's like Kuda, who just does business posting, unless you're a meme or you're a church announcement, you're not going on the status. Now, if you're with that person and you're not that type of person, again, you're going to have issues. So at the end of the day, I think you just need to, as much as it shouldn't be a non-fact, unfortunately, nowadays and age, it's something that's important to some people, and we can't just write it off anymore, because so many fights about why are you not posting me. But anyways, you need to have some of these conversations up front to know, does this person like being posted or not? So that going forward, no one can say that I was not told, I was not aware, this you just happened. No. You know from the beginning that Kuda is not going to post you, and you have to be okay with that. If you can't live with that, there are many girls on Instagram.
But I'm just thinking about that stage of dating or courtship, and as friends, I don't know if the men do this, but the women can get together and then you talk about the person that you're falling in love with, or courting or dating, and they'll start to talk about red flags, and they'll ask you, so he's never put you on his status? Girl, that's a red flag. Should it really be considered as a red flag? Should we add it? Because now we're in this techno world, and with all relationships, there are red flags. If he's not calling you 3 times a day, maybe that's a red flag. If he doesn't buy you flowers, I'm just thinking, just brainstorming here. Should we add this one now as a red flag? Never.
In my opinion, absolutely. Like, okay,
maybe
if it's never,
I've never featured one.
Okay, if it's never, okay, the word never is very powerful. If you never post, but you post all the other people that are important to you in your life, and you just never happen to post her, or you are notoriously known for posting girlfriends, but this one is not being posted, then yes, it can be a red flag. Why are you not being posted? But yeah, so it depends on the person's activity on social media. Personally, I would be absolutely surprised if someone who posts as much as, let's say, who do I know that posts a lot? Costas from One Accord. The man posts every single day. If you're dating that guy and he never posts you, then it's a red flag. But if you're with Tim, a man who almost doesn't even answer his phone, then you are worried that he's not posting you. Then you are the red flag.
You are the red flag.
Exactly. Then you are the red flag.
You had mentioned something earlier,
Yeah.
Sonia. You had mentioned something quite important earlier about it being, if you want to be posted, then is somebody doing it out of love, or just out of, for the fact that you're doing, you want to be posted out there. I think if somebody really loves you, yes, love languages aside, I think they're gonna show you how they love you based on your love language. But I think if you were to post, if you want to validate that based on posting, I think that gives you a very skewed sense, because then you can just time it every single time. For a specific time, you can be posting something about that person, but it doesn't really mean anything. So the question is, like okay, so if somebody was to post their kids online and they get, personally, I would scroll past, not because I don't care, but because it's not personal, right? But if I was to send that person a message, or that person sends me a message and say, hey, this is my kid, the name is so and so, that's more personal. So I think, having it where everyone can, the social square, I don't think it's as important or as meaningful as if it were to personalize that message.
Mhm. Okay, but thank you, Kelvin. But let's also talk about sharing, because there's a lot happening on social media where programs are shared, or it's a business that you're doing, that you're advertising on social media. And talking about support, relationship support, is it a reasonable expectation to expect your better half to also share your posts? Like share this program, for example, yeah. Would it be a reasonable expectation? And everybody else in the world is
They're
sharing,
different.
but this person that you're aligning or joining your heart with never shares any business post you have, never shares any program post, never shares anything. Is that another red flag?
Those two worlds are different. If you're using social media for work, it's different than if you're using it for showing what's happening in your personal life. So, for example, you got so many platforms. The biggest one right now, I think, for dating is Badoo. But if you want to start dating on Twitter, that's your own prerogative. But I think, like, for me personally, what I do is, Twitter is for one thing, because that's the modern watering hole. Instagram is for a completely different thing. Facebook is for a completely different thing. And yes, I do use them for work. So I wouldn't even. I think my religious affiliation on Facebook is I think it was Mormon at one point, and then went to Amish. So the thing is, if you're using it for work, I think it's unfair to say, hey, if you're going to be posting for work, then you need to post me as well. I think those two worlds need to be split up.
Okay. So that's not a sign of support. I mean, we're just talking about support. But let me go to Carmen and Timothy. Let's build on this whole idea of support. We also have a question here from Lulu. Now, Lulu says, but the perception or illusion is that the less couples post, the less happy they are. And the more they post their intimate lives, the happier they are. Are we saying it's actually the opposite? The more people post, the less happy they are. What is the balance? I think she may be speaking to an earlier comment, maybe about, happiness, and associating that with posting on couples. Is it that the more happy you are in your relationship, the more you want to show the world how happy you are? Is it a measure? Is posting on social media a measure of happiness in a relationship?
I would say, sadly, we have become a generation that's very happy in public, but actually very sad inside. So you get this whole expectation. We were talking about pressure, where people are looking to see and to measure how you're doing in a relationship based on what you post, or because it's very difficult to in a world that has become so international, you don't really get to interact with people as much, sadly. And again, that's also due to social media. So we have this whole thing of relationship goals. Everyone wants to always post the happy things, but my experience has shown that it does tend to actually be the opposite. I mean, if I could take a worldly view, or a secular view, if you look at celebrities, a lot of times, as Kuda said, they will post themselves being very happy, but then, like you've got the Will Smiths and so on, and the next thing you know, things have ended very, very badly. So I think people just need to be very careful not to measure the happiness of the relationship based on, basically what people post on social media is a highlight reel of their life. You're just posting the good parts. Nobody posts the arguments that they have in a relationship. Nobody posts no one takes a picture of a divorce certificate and posts it online and says officially divorced, or no one posts a picture of maybe there are those who do actually take it that far. But the point is, what message are you actually sending, not only to those outside but to yourself? And so yeah, I would say it's not supposed to be a measure of the stage of your relationship, because 9 out of 10 it turns out it's the opposite of what you're posting. But sadly, people do use it that way.
And now we have to delete.
Yeah, but I've seen some divorce parties, though. Divorce cake as well.
Yeah.
But could I also, as you come in there, is this a conversation that you would say couples should have before marriage? Someone, to sit down with your girlfriend and to talk about whether she wants to be on your status, and you need to discuss this, because maybe for you it's okay, you're not interested in posting things on social media, but maybe for her, she that's how you express love to her. Could this be considered as one of those important conversations that people should have before marriage?
Well, not before marriage. I think before dating, like before you become my girlfriend, we should have this conversation. Because when we're now talking about marriage, I'm asking questions like parenting style. Do you believe that we should beat these things, or should we not beat them? You know what I mean? Like, should have conversations about retirement. Where do you want to live? What is a good school district? What are your health diets and beliefs? How do you treat your family? And how are your ideas on extended family? If you're asking about WhatsApp status, by the time you should be getting married, my brother, you should not be getting married. You cannot be asking that question at that point. But I think that the most important thing is and Lulu pointed this out in the chat, that it starts to boil down to personality types. It's unlikely that you're someone who's highly introverted who would want to be all out there on social media and have your life very public. And it's very likely that if you're an extrovert, you're unlikely to want your life to be very private and to be hidden from the world. So at the end of the day, the main question starts becoming about understanding our different personality types and how they work well together. Because if you do your homework on that, if you learn about that, then it's highly unlikely that you'll ever be in a situation whereby you now have to be uncomfortable, not because the person is a bad person, because you're not a bad person for wanting to be posted. But what is bad is that if it reaches a point that one of you has to do something that's very uncomfortable with. You're uncomfortable being not being posted. I'm highly uncomfortable posting you. What is supposed to happen? If I post you, that means that we're disregarding how I feel. If I don't post you, I'm disregarding how you feel. So before we even get to that point, I think understanding different personality types and how well they work together can actually help us better when we're trying to date and see the people we get involved with.
Thank you. Manolo here raises a very interesting point, that posting happy moments in your relationship can make single people very sour as well. But Kelvin, we have a question from Sam, and the question is, should Adventists and Christians in general engage in online dating at all?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Again, we'll keep hitting this nail till it's in there. It's gonna be a millennial and a Gen Z issue, right? The older people are not going to be online dating. Usually they're married at that time. But really the times dictate that we need to, be, active in our love lives, I guess. And that also, if we look at the motives, different areas have different, or different cultures have different motives for getting on online dating. So for example, if you were to look at New York, or like Washington, D.C. or something, or even as opposed to like, Windhoek, for example, you'd see that the reason for people getting on online dating and the platforms they're using are going to be a lot different. So, for example, if you're somebody who's working in a very high stress job, you get on online dating to kind of blow off steam, meet that person, one night stand, you're done. Whereas you find people who spend the time to get, into, to pay for an account, which is not cheap. So they can find somebody, doing the legwork to make sure that they're increasing their chances of getting that right person. But there's people who, of course, don't care. So I think, to answer your question, it wouldn't be a bad thing for Adventists and Christians to engage in online dating. Again, what are your reasons for getting into online dating? So that's what I would ask.
Thank you so much. Let's shift the conversation to children now. Coming to you. I mean, celebrities have come out. They have talked about how they don't even allow their children to watch TV. People like Madonna have come out and said this. Even Kanye West has actually said that Hollywood is releasing a lot of debasing information. A lot of programs that are not suitable for children. And these are the people that are actually creating this content. They are the content creators. They are involved in this content creation, but they don't allow their children to watch television. But yet we find that we are in a society now where parents are content to let social media raise their children, the television raise their children. Is this something that we should be worried about, as parents in this generation and the times that we are living in? Is there a danger for the children? Yes.
Yeah, so I hope we don't follow these celebrities. You mentioned Kanye West. Even though he's saying those things, if you actually track his actions, his videos, and what his wife actually does to their children online, you will start to think actually that is not right. There is this term called validation by proxy. So basically what parents do, they start to take videos of their kids' pictures, they post them online, they use their celebrity status, so then they start to create accounts for their children, and that's where money keeps on coming, or keep on coming. So we shouldn't follow these celebrities, we should follow on what is actually good for our children. There should be a limit or a certain age where you need to introduce social media. The later you introduce it, the better, I think, because we can see now the destructive effects that have on us, and we are adults. Imagine if you give that to your child, they don't understand that. They don't have the ability to cope with all these negative thoughts and the forever comparison with other people. They won't understand that. So why would you do that to your child? You basically give them a weapon that later on that they will use it, not against you but against themselves, and that will affect you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Timothy, also the cutoff age for gadgets. Before Kelvin, I'd also like you to come in on that one. But Timothy, when would be the most suitable time to buy children gadgets? Because we are also talking about online schooling and things like that. When would be the best time? And can there be an effect on the child's mental development?
Okay, so this is something that's also changed over time. So, for example, I myself got my first gadget, my first phone when I was about 18. There was nothing wrong with that at the time because most people at my age didn't have gadgets at that time either. But now it's a very fast-paced world. I mean, sometimes people get their children phones because of they're worried about safety. So they would get their child a phone so that, okay, if anything goes wrong, you can text mom or you can text dad or you can call someone. So I think the main question that a family needs to ask themselves is, what values are you teaching your children? And the reason I say this is, I mean, the children are exposed to a lot of things when parents are not around. So even if you don't get your child a phone until they're 18, which would hardly ever happen today, but let's say You want to block out those things. Your child is going to go to school, and they're going to be watching videos, and they're going to be doing all sorts of things outside the parents' watch. So I think parents need to focus more on what are they training their children to do. So are they giving them studies? Are they telling them about the dangers of social media, as we're discussing now? Are they telling them the dangers of these things? And then if you're sure that you have instilled the correct teachings to your young ones, and then you can be comfortable to know, okay, if we get them an iPad, or if we get them like an iPhone or the latest Samsung or so on, then they can make the right decisions. Because there's so much bombardment of media and so many things that happen online that we have to be very, very, very careful of, no matter what the age. I mean, like I said, you could wait up until a child is 15 years old before you get him an internet connected device or a smartphone. But if they don't have the mental protection and the spiritual protection of what to expect and how to handle themselves, it could still end really badly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Kelvin, as you come in on that one, just to add on, let me throw Sam's question at you as well. And Sam is asking, is there a website that can be recommended for free, genuine kind of Christian online dating? So he's going back to the online dating. You talked about how it's okay, but can there be one? I know that there is the SDA Singles Facebook page. Okay.
I don't think there's a specific. I'm gonna, I think say that I don't think there's necessarily one specific site that is, quote unquote safe. I think what you want to look for is like the groups. So I know I'm a part of like this Adventist Singles or something like that, and usually for these ones you're going to be invited to these kinds of groups. And the good thing about that is that the people who are inviting you know you as a person, and so everyone in there, it's almost like a safe space. And I'm not the biggest fan of these of like this whole safe space movement, but I think being in a safe space when it comes to online dating for Christians is extremely important. Like Timothy said, if the spiritual aspect is gone, regardless of what you do, what site you go to, there's always going to be evil. So if you fix your foundation, you'll be all sorted. When it comes to the gadgets and everything that we're talking about earlier, I think it is true that very few people actually have very few celebrities have their children watching TV. In France, I believe the earliest that children can watch TV is as I think it's 3 or 4 years old, and that's because of the power of subliminal messaging. Nowadays, they've kind of come full circle where they don't really care what's happening in some places. They don't really care what you see. So you're walking down the streets of New York, and what you'll see is two men kissing. And they'll call that love. And so now the parent has to educate their child on what true love is biblically. And so if you let that train go, catching it further down the line is going to be a lot more difficult. Yeah. So again, you've got subliminal message that you need to take care of. When it comes to the kind of devices you're using, you mentioned Apple earlier. There was something very controversial that came up a couple of months ago, which is Apple CSMA, I think. And what that basically is that it's trying to deal with the fact that parents are letting their kids have phones and devices a lot sooner than they should, right? And so we all know, like the flickering of the screen, the refresh rate pacifies the child. So when they're crying, the parents give the child a phone, they stop crying. Problem is, it becomes habit. And so when they're older, they now have a device that's very powerful, but there's no control over it. And so parents don't understand, hey, there's more devices, and I think Android has more security features for parents or parental guidance. And so what happens with the CSMA that Apple released is they said, listen, we understand that kids are going to be sending pictures, sexting, I guess. And what we want to do is we want to nip it in the bud. And so what happens is, as a parent, you have permission, you give permission to your child to receive very specific type of pictures. Apple on their back end will go in and scan all the photos in the album. So then there goes your privacy. And when they scan that, if somebody was to send something that looks like, something obscene, then you would get a message. They would get a message on their phone saying, "Hey, you're about to receive something obscene. Do you want to accept it?" And when you accept it, it says the parental or your parental person is going to get the same image to see what you're seeing. And so at that point, you're seeing that technology is now taking over the parental role. Now, how wise is that? How smart is it for parents to be, for whatever reason, to give their kids devices? I mean, I would suggest even a small Nokia 3310 would do the job if the issue is to stay connected. Because once you start the digital path without the foundation, the Christian foundation, you're really at the gambling table, because as soon as the kid now understands what the internet is, what you can find on the internet. For example, there's websites where you can go in and you can literally find anything you want, and that's on the www. That's not even on the dark web. And so it becomes very dangerous. You meet people, unsavory people that you shouldn't really be talking to. And with kids, you now start dealing with, you can get into the whole realm of sextortion and profiles being stolen. And then, at that point, you're already in too deep.
Thank you so much, Kelvin. And I'm inclined to agree with Moses's comment here that social media education should be the first focus for parents, and parents need to monitor even when they're sure that the kid knows enough, just based on what you're talking about, because really it is becoming a dangerous world for the children there. And even posting your children's pictures can make them vulnerable to predators and that kind of information. You may think it's okay, I'm showing the world my child, but someone out there, is targeting your child. Thank you so much. We're going to switch now to Anonymous video, as Anonymous gives us her account of her experience with online dating. Over to you, Sam.
Hello, everyone. Getting especially those who have prayed what I call the 25-year-old prayer. There's something about most girls putting on an age in their prayers for their 25th year prayer for marriage. Of course, it's the same with other specific age groups, but my statistics has it on girls who pray to be married with a stable family at least by 25 years. That was me some 5 years ago. I started dating late. I think just after high school, there's a time I got serious into praying and fasting that the Lord, I really want to be in a serious relationship or in a serious marriage relationship leading to the time when I get to 25 years, specifically 25 years. So I'm one of those who gets to be too or extra loyal in my relationships. So I dated a few guys who seemed serious, but anyway, they were not. And guess what? A month before my 25th birthday, I met a guy from Facebook SDA Singles. I spotted him as he would always comment valuable things, and I told myself, this is it. God has spotted someone for me. It felt like a real deal, though. We were like 1,000 miles away from each other. Our love grew, like there online, which I obviously realized later that it was infatuation. I knew that there are some people we've met online, but rarely, and those people have made it. some haven't made it. So we were in a relationship for 8 months, 8 good months. But in those 8 months, it only took my mom's best friend, who had noticed my moves, to say that I should make sure that in all this, I have to be in love, not to fall in love. Because then I had not only fallen in love, but I had drowned in it. Even my studies were kind of neglected. But because I told myself this is an answered prayer. Oh, guys, it happened a month before I turned 25, and I was specific about that 25. But because I told myself this is an answered prayer, and listen, it happened exactly that time that I wanted. At that time, I was staying with my mom and not on campus, but she had also traveled abroad for almost 4 months. My mom's friend, I guess, sensed some disaster, and she said I have to look at the red flags and continue asking God to show me if this is the right direction I'm going. But the good thing is, I listen and analyze to advices most of the times. So I kind of paused a little to just reflect. The sweetness of this information, infatuation, all the info that I was getting from this guy, which I call it infatuation, it turned sour after 8 months. And I'd had some serious thoughts. And it came out that the ninth month, a month after our breakup, he had married another girl there, 1,000 miles away where he was, in just 1 month. You can imagine. So there are important things to me that I had to note when praying for a partner. Having specifications of what you want, remember to say your will be done, and you mean it, and to ask for wisdom in others' prayer requests. A person you meet online is a total stranger. Try to find out his background from people who know him. No investigation means no information. Don't be too fast to fall in love with an online date after seeing his or her online pictures or just hearing voice notes. One once said, phones do lie, guys. So another thing to note is follow your gut feeling and don't be ignorant of red flags for the sake of desperation to get married. Some people meet online and live happily ever after, but not with everyone. Research well, double more than when it's not an online date. So learn to consult a few trusted ones who have gone this journey before, and you can fully understand. Remember, no sex before marriage. And this is one of the greatest principles, even to myself, because some online dates may tend to be for just fulfilling sexual desires with a stranger without the other party even realizing it. And I would like to also talk about the regrets that I had after this online date. I wish I had not commanded God to do what I wanted than and then just close my eyes, because we've got choices. I told God it's either this or this. This is what I want by the age of 25. But I didn't say your will be done. I was actually telling God what to do. But anyway, we've got choices. God doesn't. God sometimes lets us to have to just have it our way. I wish I'd waited on God and not be desperate, because I might have missed an opportunity of a guy who was watching me, but not online.
Wow, that is actually something. You know, I don't know, but personally, what I seem to take away from that video is you can really actually make a very good anonymous video at home. I mean, did you see that get up? I mean, my word. Personally, I liked the way that she was and everything, giving me ideas.
More anonymous videos.
Thank you so much, Anonymous, for sharing that video.
With my,
We know it
yeah,
was
but
not
otherwise,
easy to
so
share that story.
I've seen something similar to that. Hello? Oh, yeah. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Kuna. Anonymous talks about the 25-year prayer, a target that was set by 25. I need to be married. She also talks about dating late and how she started dating after high school, and that was dating late. But should there be that one should engage in dating? When would be the right time to date? And is it really wise to set a year limit?
Now, what do you guys think? Personally, I don't think that to limit to say that I should be married by this particular age, I don't think that's actually a good idea, because you end up finding yourself in very interesting situations. And by interesting, I mean stressful and anxiety and depression and all of that nice stuff.
I think letting God lead is really the most important thing. I think it's good to have your own rules, like she was saying. You know, she had her rules, but at some point they kind of became a little flexible. And I think with age, it does become flexible. There being more females than men in the world, you can see where the pressure comes in. So you know, I can't even begin to imagine what that feels like. But I think, you know, if you have your rules, just have God in there with you in those rules, and I think everything should be okay. Don't move your rules to fit what society needs.
But doesn't that kind of seem like settling, though, when you start adjusting your rules as you get older? You know, almost stinks of desperation.
It might be desperation, but again, we're dealing with a lot of social pressure. Religion as well, that plays an important role in someone's decision to sort of rush into marriage. Age, women tend to feel a bit more depressed as they get older and they're not married. And then it feels like it's not bad to set a limit, but in a way you're speaking to God as if you're giving him an ultimatum. Why would you do that? God doesn't work like that. And as I said, we're going back to the idea that everyone's time is different, you know. And also when you go online dating, you're actually saying to yourself that God cannot help me to find someone in my circle of friends and family. Or maybe you want to move abroad or other parts of the world, so then you go online. So that's another reason why you might just go online dating. But we can see clearly the perils of online dating. You can tell now that I'm not for this method. And you just you're getting so depressed. It starts to be like a disease inside your body and your mind, thinking every day, God, why are you not answering my prayer? Why am I not married? Why have I not found someone just yet? No, the only thing you can do is actually refocus. Start to do things, study, you know, have a career, think of helping your family, your friends, do something. God doesn't teach us to be idle, so you need to be involved. And then God will answer your prayer. Because if this is your focus every day, it's not about salvation, it's not about anything else, but just marriage, I'm not sure that God will answer, will give you what you want. Maybe I'm too harsh saying these things, I don't know.
No, I definitely agree. I mean,
Isn't that though due to the? Sorry, go on.
sorry, I was just going to say, we will then fall into the Sarah and Abraham trap. You know, God said to Abraham, "I will give you a child," and then it was like a waiting thing, and they were wondering, "Is it ever going to happen? Is it ever going to happen?" To the point where Sarah suggested to Abraham, "Why don't you take Hagar and make a child through?" But that's not the way that actually God wanted. And then again, just like Carmen said, it's also about not setting time limits because everybody is different. You don't know where you're going to be at 25 or 30 or so on, both mentally and physically. Are you going to be actually ready? I think people need to take into account that once you get married, and I mean this in a good way, you're going to be married for the rest of your life. It's literally going to be what you're going to be doing until Christ comes, and
It's a matter of heaven choice.
yeah. So I would argue that there's nothing to rush about because, like I said, you end up falling into a thing where you end up falling to the same trap that Abraham and Sarah fell into, and you end up making wrong choices.
And another aspect is that Satan actually observes everything that you do, all your weaknesses, he knows. So if he knows you find yourself in such a low sort of state of mind, thinking that you're not worthy to be married, he will quantify that one day or later, and he will give you actually the wrong person, thinking that God actually answered your prayer, and this is what God gave you. Don't be fooled.
Thank
Really
you.
don't
Thank
be
you.
fooled.
Thank you so much. And Timothy, I just want to touch on what you said earlier about getting married at a young age. The dangers or the problems or the challenges that one could encounter, wanting to rush into it. Some people get married even at 18, some get married at 21. And how can that impact other life goals if you rush into it too early? And, I like what you said earlier, that once you get into the marriage, then we are expecting you, by God's grace, to be together until even Christ comes. I just want to
Yeah,
find
yeah,
out more on that.
yeah. I mean, I have a good friend who says, "If you rush, you crush." So basically, um, it's about getting to know yourself. And sadly, what a lot of people want to do, and I think what puts a lot of weight on relationships, is that people are rushing into relationships before they truly know themselves, both bad and good. And so they then project these issues onto their partner. For example, I could get into a relationship early, as an example, and I haven't allowed myself to progress career-wise to the point that I wanted to by that time. And so if I get into this relationship, I will start to project that failure onto my partner and say, "Oh, you're the one holding me back. If I wasn't with you, I could have been so far in life." When actually it was you that didn't actually take time to, develop yourself before you got into the relationship. And so that's why I would say for both, and I would argue this is obviously something I would think all of us would agree that ladies tend to think about much earlier than guys. By the time a lady's in high school, maybe she's already started to think about what kind of a man she's going to marry. Whereas the guys tend to just be looking around, playing the field. And so by the time they leave high school or college, a woman is more ready for this, whereas a guy is still, he's still, thinking about it. And so as a woman, if you're pressurizing a guy at a very young age to get married, you have to ask yourself, is this something that he will do because he's ready, or is it just because I'm pressurizing him? And what I've tend to find is, if that person is pressurized into it, it's going to come back a few years down the line. That's when the blame game starts, and it'll just cause a lot of instability.
Thank you so much. But Kuda, what happens now if you delay the marriage, process? You delay getting into marriage because you still want to get your master's, maybe your PhD, then you want to start working and you want to spend your money on your own without having to share with anyone and things like that and achieve all these goals. And then at the time that you're ready to get married, there isn't anybody suitable around to marry you. Don't you fall into another
Um,
danger of just picking the first lady that will come by or the first guy?
I think that what is this? I think that we need to be completely fair and cognizant of gender when we're discussing this particular issue, because the reality is that from 20 onwards, the the value of either a man or woman on the dating marketplace, it changes with time. For example, the options that are available to a 23, 24-year-old woman who is arguably in her prime are very different from the options of that one who's 28, 29. Whereas as a man, at 35, I can still go shop that side by the 22s, 23s, 24s. You know what I mean? So it's like the more I get situated, the more I get established as a man, the more options I have. And age is not necessarily that much of a barrier depending on what society I'm living in. So from the perspective of, let's say if we're talking about women, I don't think that it is particularly fair to just preach the message of waiting in the same way, or the message of patience in the same way that we do when we're discussing about men. Because if now she's waiting at 30 and I'm waiting at 30, those are two very different things entirely. Completely different things, because the men that may be available to her at 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, maybe someone who's been divorced, maybe single fathers, and it's not the same. Whereas for me, I can simply go for someone who's recently graduated university, and society is like, oh, no, he finally settled down. He has money. He's a good option for you. So I think that when we're waiting, I think the words of Jesus start becoming a bit more important here, that you must be, my mother likes to say, what's the word again? Is it quick like a fox, smart like a fox? You also need to be aware of your surroundings. Wait, but wait with a purpose. Don't just wait to be given.
Amen.
Like that person was given the talent and then they hid the talent waiting for the master to come back. Wait with a purpose. See what you can do to also be in the best position, so that should God ever give you an opportunity, you are ready to take it. And also as a man, that yes, I think Timothy's words, they hit the nail right on the head when discussing about men. That as a man, honestly, the need to rush. Where are you running? Why are you running? At 38, my guy can still make it work. Why you are running doesn't make any sense. So those are my 2 cents on that.
I see they're agreeing with you there on the chat sections. Mogile says, very, very, very true, Kuda. Somebody should get that. Indeed, it's all relative, but also the idea of rushing into it, that balance is needed. And as Moses also here is saying that it's a negotiation when two people are in a relationship. Don't come with your dates. So for some people, the moment you get into the relationship, you're already talking about marriage. So where are we moving on from here? Perhaps an important conversation as well to have. Where are we moving from here? We're coming to a close of our program this afternoon, and we would just like to appreciate Anonymous once again for sharing that video, those insights into online dating. If you do have any pressing questions or comments, now would be the time, because we will be closing shortly. But just allow me, Kelvin, to also pose Manolo's question to you. Manolo asked earlier that this idea of comparing relationships, is it really wise to compare relationships? What happens if she is comparing me to someone who who took another on a safari and all I can manage is KFC?
I think being content is extremely vital for us to go into a relationship with. We cannot take, looking at we cannot take what we have seen online or even past experiences and past relationships onto our current relationship or what we want. I think that's extremely dangerous. It's extremely unhealthy. There was a movement a couple of years ago. I don't know if it's still going on, which is the men are dogs movement. I think there's a lot to be said about that kind of those kinds of movements. They come from somewhere. We're not disregarding that, but I think if you take a blanket, and of course on the men's side there's probably another one, but on the same side, taking a blanket statement like that and pushing certain agendas or certain movements or certain feelings onto a current relationship. Either through experiences or perceived experiences is extremely dangerous. So we need to again ask ourselves why can't this person afford this? And if that's something that you're not willing to live with, again, going to my rules for the relationship are X, Y, and Z. My red flags are X, Y, and Z. If you have those in order and your foundations are solid, then I don't think the KFC would be much of an issue if that wasn't on your list of problems. For many people, they see that as an experience. We mentioned men waiting and women also waiting at 30. I think for men, what they're waiting for, a woman is looking for somebody who can support and sustain and protect. That's what women need in a relationship. With men, yes, fine. Attractiveness comes first, but they're also looking for somebody who can support them, somebody who can help them grow to where they need to be. And of course, once you have that unity, then you have like some beautiful synergy. But if the man is still looking at 30, it might be because he hasn't found what he's looking for, or he's not ready for himself to get into a relationship. So if somebody's not ready to get into a relationship, like we've all said, it becomes disastrous for everyone. So at the age of 40, you'll realize that KFC is not really much of an issue, as opposed to how the person treats his family members.
Thank you so much. Kuda, this one is for you. I don't know, but there's a question here for you, Kuda. I'm even failing to find the words. But the question says, Kuda, are you single and open to online dating? My little cousin wants to know. This is literally asking for a friend. # don't shoot the messenger. Okay, so maybe we may have lost Kuda there.
No. I'm here. Hold on. First things first. I'm here. Send me your application by messenger. Don't worry, we can talk. My profile is there. We can talk about this away from the cameras. You know what I mean?
Kuda is open to this idea, so be sure to DM Kuda. This is Real Talk, and we also connect real people. But as we're coming to a close, Kelvin, earlier we had a question from Sardinia asking you to explain what the dark web is.
Dark web is, as I said earlier, it's the bigger part of the www. It's not the www. It's deeper than that, and so that's really where anything technically illegal happens. You can buy from tanks to guns to drugs, whatever, and everything is kept anonymous. So all interaction on that part is kept anonymous, and you usually can't even surf it using Chrome or Edge or Windows Explorer, or whatever it is you use. You have to use very specific search engines, and that's because, again, if once you get there, the privacy is of vital importance. That's where people start getting hacked, and then they realize, oh, somebody bought a car in my name. What do I do? How do I clean up my credit? And so it is a very dangerous place. You can get good things, but usually that's where the criminal element lurks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we've run out of time here on Real Talk, but I will give Carmen and Timothy the last words as our couple here on Real Talk. Anything you guys would like to share?
I'll let my the lovely lady go first.
Thank you. Not necessarily share, but I think for those young people that out there that want to date and want to find the right partner, it's a search that is not an easy one. Finding the right person is not an easy journey, but God is blessing us throughout. All this time He's giving us wisdom is giving us light in what we need to do. You just need to follow the guidelines or the rules that God is giving us, and you will be okay. You will be okay.
And I think I would also just encourage people. I have nothing. Nothing. Well, besides what we've discussed, I have nothing against online dating, but I would encourage young people or people of all ages who are looking for a significant other to go out there and just give it a try. And a lot of times we give up very early before we've actually fully, for example, somebody will only check in their local church and then they feel like, okay, I didn't find anybody, so I have to go online. No, give it some time, go out there, join in, missionary work or whatever it is. Do
music group or
like you said, choirs and so on. Go out there and see. You'll be surprised that you might find somebody who's spiritually and physically on your wavelength, and and of course pray about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Maybe I will end with some statistics. A study was conducted that showed that 62% of the people that participated in that study actually admitted to lying in their profiles on online dating. So they were not telling the truth. They were pretending to be somebody else. But there are other studies as well that have been done that show that others who engaged in online dating ended up married as opposed to those who went the traditional route. So that may not be something that you would want to rule out. We hope we'll be able to follow that development and Kuda with his potential online dating here on Real Talk. We will keep you posted. Hopefully, who knows? It may be a Real Talk wedding in the pipeline. Oh, will it be serious? But I would just like to thank everybody who has joined us, our wonderful panel. Calvin, thank you so much. It has been wonderful, and thank you for all the insights, the technical insights into online dating. Timothy and Carmen, thank you so much for joining us. It has been wonderful chatting with you and also sharing with us some advice, tips, and also from your experience. Kuda, what can I say? As always, you bring it. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to having you all in future here on Real Talk. But let me just ask Carmen, our lovely lady, to close in prayer for us, please.
Our Father in heaven, we want to come before you to give you thanks for creating us so wonderful. You put in us this desire to look and search for you, and you also created marriage. And it's a difficult one, but Father, may you encourage each and every one out there to be able to seek you first, the kingdom of heaven first, and then all the other things will be given to them, Lord. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to gather together and talk about these things. They are so important for the young generation, and not only, Father. Give us wisdom, give us light. We want to ask you these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Until next time on Real Talk, may the Lord be with you all, keep you safe. May He lead, guide, navigate your relationships. To all those who have shared with us anonymously, and to Anonymous out there, thank you for your wonderful insights, your advice, and also sharing your experience. This is goodbye from us all here at Amazing Grace Real Talk. Sam, over to you, please. May you sign us off with the song.
of life, words of hope, give us strength, help us cope in this world where we roam. Ancient words will guide us home. Ancient words, ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Ancient words, ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Holy words of our faith handed down to this age, came to us through sacrifice. Oh, heed the faithful words of holy words, long preserved for our walk in this world. They resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Ancient words, ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Ancient words, ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Ancient words, ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Ancient words, ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Let the ancient words impart. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. We have come with open